Hey, what's going on, Cyril? And anyone else who's watching this, I'm gonna run through some of my gear. I just grabbed it from my car. Just got back from the wedge, filmed another video. I got some really good footage. No one out. But yeah, anyway, so I'm gonna run through my gear that I basically just keep in my car and the same like kind of gear that I go down with. Ultimately, I have a camera gear video that gets more in depth with the camera stuff, but I'm going to show you just kind of like what I have in my bags and whatnot. You've probably seen this. This is the Exile board that I just got. I got that from East Coast Skimboards. I believe it's like a 51 inch or something like that. Yeah, it's $300. That's this one. I'm sure you don't really care too much about the skimboard, but and then I got this track pad off of Amazon. It's like the cheapest one they have, and yeah, I just threw it on itself. It didn't come with. I didn't order the center piece just because I felt like with me surfing and being on the bodyboard, it might throw me off a little bit. Now I'm kind of thinking. I mean, I'm gonna stick with it just like this, but eventually in the future, I might get a center track pad right here. That's the skimboard, and for the bodyboard, this bodyboard is like. I've had it since I was 21. I'm 28 now, or 20. I mean, I'm 28, but yeah, I think I've had it since I was 20. It's a Mike Stewart Science. I believe at the time it was a Science 9 or Science 6. This thing, all I really know about this is it's a Poly Pro double stringer. That's why it hasn't broke, and that's why I could like jump on it. And it's obviously you can see the bend in the shoulder where I put my elbow right here. Yeah, there's a GoPro mount. Anytime you have a GoPro mount and you put it on your board, if you're going to, you want to get it down, put some pressure on it overnight, make sure it sticks. And then what I do is on every mount, this and the surfboard, is I put crazy glue or not Gorilla Glue because that bonds with heat, but crazy glue you want to put around the edges and that will not ever come off. I'll show you on the surfboard too. It will not come off if you crazy glue it. But yeah, other than that, it's a 42. You can see two what do they call them, creases here too. Somehow with the double stringers and the creases, it still hasn't, it's still good. But yeah, it's a 42. I've noticed the width. It's somewhat narrow compared to other boards I've ridden, and it's a little bit thinner than most boards that I've ridden, which I somewhat like. Most people say that Mike Stewart science boards are really stiff. But you can go between, now they have boards where you can pop stringers in the back here. I think they have you put one right there, they have two right there. So some people say that Mike Stewart science boards are a little bit stiff. For me, I've adapted to it and I like it a lot. Ultimately, if it wasn't this stiff, I think I would have broken it years ago. But yeah, there's my bodyboard. I have my fins here. Oh, I really... With the fins, I've always used Vipers, but in one of my POVs, if you've watched from like 7 months ago, I lost one at the pier. And so I've always used the classic yellow dot Vipers, size 9 to 11, the large. And I basically, when you're just around the beach as much as I am, you find fins floating up and stuff like that. I can't remember where this came from. Must have found it at the wedge or something, but this is a red leaf fin. I've been using this for a while. This one gives me a little bit of a rash right here. And back here, when the sand gets in there, the Vipers do not. The Vipers, when you put your feet into them, they are very narrow around the sides right here. So your feet will really, your first couple times using them, it will really like kind of, it hurts. But your feet adapt to it. And they got this little part right here that keeps, the sand. For me, the sand doesn't rub up against my foot, create a rash here or there. These are the fin tethers that Nainoa gave me after he saw me lose a couple fins because before I used this Redley, I was using a Churchill, and the Churchill lost at the wedge. Was one of the dudes out there said he saw it floating. I still have the Churchill, but I've used just these two, and eventually I'm going to go back to the regular Vipers. But yeah, those are my fins. The fin tethers, just in case you're interested. I mean, you can get any fin tethers, but these are BZ, right? I think that's a BZ logo. But yeah. Nainoa hooked me up with those, and I've been using them since. They've saved me quite a few times. So if you want to save your fins, fin tethers are a good idea. Surfboard, I'm sure that's what you're most curious about. Host Stevie has hooked me up with quite a few things. He got me like the changing robe. That thing is super convenient. I mean, I've always changed in a towel, which is great. But the robe you throw on, it has a little hoodie. The arms are off. It's like a lot of freedom. And it goes all the way down to your knees. You can change in and out of your suit. So what's funny is sometimes I change in and out of my suit. And I just hang out in the robe like after it has a nice breeze. But yeah, he's hooked me up with a robe. He's hooked me up with a mouthpiece. Hooked me up with a leash. I don't really know. I usually shop on Amazon for like the cheapest prices. I don't really know how Host Stevie's prices match up, but he's a cool dude. If you wanted to check out his stuff, feel free. And then as for the surfboard I bought since I was 16. So you'll see on the bottom it says for Rob. Rob was a dude that I grew up with, and our buddy's dad who shapes these boards, but she was the shaper of this board. His son is my friend who I grew up with throughout elementary school. We don't see each other too often, but he's still a surfer, and so is the shaper of this board is Larry Myers, and it's Harbor Isle Surfboards here in Huntington Beach. He's not a huge shaper, to my knowledge. His name's out there and stuff like that, but I don't think he's ever like gone huge or anything like that. As for the dimensions, here's the for Rob. Oh yeah, and Stevie hooked me up with these fins too. Just there's a little screw here. You pop them in, tighten the screw, solid. And then here are the dimensions. I'm gonna pop on there if you could see them. So those are the dimensions of the board. My dimensions for my body are I'm 5'11", 165, and it's got the what is it? Swallowtail? No, this isn't a swallowtail. There's a pintail, rounded pintail. Yeah, that seems to do it for me. This is a pretty old board. I've have a lot going on right here. This right here, you have water that goes in and out of it, and so at the end of every session, I pop it upside down and just drain the water. So sometimes I go out and it's really light. Sometimes I go out and it's a little heavy. And here's I don't use this thing. This is the tether in case the GoPro falls off. And what's funny is this thing has never fallen off. I've had my GoPros in there before. It's never fallen off. In the past, I've had a little clip in here. And the clip itself, this thing, if you could see that, this thing, that's the GoPro thing that slides in like that. That's already in there. I keep that in there. So if I put my GoPro on there, I click it in there, and then I screw it into the side. So that's always there. I leave that there. And one of the times, the actual thing that slides in right there broke, and I lost a GoPro about like a year and a half ago. Maybe it was a year ago due to that. So ultimately, it's the same thing. You get your mount on, and then after the mount's there, I don't remember if I hot glued this or crazy glued it, but that glue has stayed. I'm sure it looks like I had some hot glue on there and then put crazy glue over it. But crazy glue will do just fine. That's probably, the best bet. Crazy glue or anything like that, some type of like really crazy adhesive. I don't know what you call it, but there you go with that. Okay, there's that. So here's my bag that I just got back from the beach with. Today was just like a GoPro day. I always bring down my DSLR anyways. Like I said, this shit's all in my car. So I always have a bunch of extra little random stuff here. I always keep extra memory cards, extra batteries. I keep them in here at all times. You never know that, especially if you ever start doing freelance, you have to, if you don't have an extra memory card, you don't have an extra battery, you're not going to be able to film the event. You're not going to be able to get paid. You got to have backups of like all that stuff. So yeah, I got my extra Canon batteries here, stuff like that. My GoPro in here with, this isn't the Host Stevie mouth mount. This is a Puluz mouth mount on Amazon, Puluz. That one, the mouth hole is a little bit bigger. It's a little bit easier to breathe, and it has this mouth guard kind of thing right here, which Host Stevie doesn't have that. So if I go like this, it's gonna this mouth guard kind of thing is going to press up against my lips and keep my mouth from like trying to eat the camera. I've heard they messed up their teeth because that part wasn't there and it went into the camera. I've never had that problem. I've had this before pop up like that and hit me in the face, and I've had I've also had this screw right here pop up and hit me in there, and I was swollen on the eye for a couple days there. Other than that, you know, I would go with the Pulus. The Pulus, I try and use this as much as possible. Host Stevie hooks me up, so I wrap him and I use the Host Stevie mount here and there. But this one has a bigger mouthpiece and it has that protection. Yeah, other than that, the camera bag. What was it? The camera bag. Did I put the camera bag in my camera gear run through? I don't think so. But it's a Low Pro. It has the zipper on the inside. I got that when I was going to Costa Rica because I heard it's people like, you know, theft and stuff like that. It even, you know, here's the backside. You can't really access it from the backside. You got a tripod thing right here. Down here, there's a rain cover that pops out and you can bring it up over. I've never used it. I've never needed to. This thing is pretty rain repellent as it is. You don't technically need that. There's a side pocket here. I put suntan lotion and wax in. Let's see, what else do I have in here? Well, I got my DSLR. In case you have a DSLR, this is what happened if you saw my video where I couldn't film from my DSLR that day and I filmed from my my GoPro, is I used to have the double battery grip on the bottom here. And I did a bunch of research and found out that there should be a door, a barn door here too, that clicks in and it activates. There's a little piece in here that activates and tells the camera that it's shut. So my camera wouldn't even turn on. And what I had to do was take this little piece. There's a little piece right there. There's two yellow things right here. It's the smaller yellow one. There's a sensor in there that has to be pushed in, and the battery grip wasn't pushing in all the way. I don't know why, but I shoved that little piece of paper in there and it works fine now. Obviously this is open, and I put the bigger yellow piece right there to hold the battery in place because I don't remember where this barn door is. I've moved a couple times in the past 7-8 months, so some of this stuff is just in boxes or whatever. But if you have an issue with your DSLR, let me know. That could be you know, an issue with an easy fix. I was thinking about buying a new camera, you know, like how am I gonna, but ended up you know, just making a quick fix real quick. Ultimately I want to upgrade to a DSLR that films at 1080 60 frames per second, which would be really cool. It'll be like it'll take my video stuff to the next level. I really, you know, 60 frames per second is pretty dope. I think so. Yeah, extra GoPro battery. I got my earplugs in here. Yeah, earplugs. I've had some issues with a lot of water flushing in and out of my ears, so I wear earplugs every time now. I got my 50mm lens in here always. I really just keep my 75mm. And my 50mm lens, you can see there's sand all over that. There's sand everywhere. I keep cheap equipment because I like to beat it up, and I don't, you know, like I'm not going to run around with a $2,000 lens and just, if I got one in the future, that would be great. But, you know, I like to like beat my stuff up, and that's, you know, what's going on here. But everything works great. My camera I've had for 4 years. That was the only issue I've ever had with my camera. I've never had to have repairs or anything like that. I have a little mini tripod in here. You know, like sometimes it's good to use. I rarely use it. Usually I only use it when I'm like on a trip or something like that and you gotta like MacGyver something at the last second. I got extra GoPro stickers and stuff. You never know. It's nice to just keep this stuff in here. This is pretty crucial. If you have a GoPro and a tripod, this thing, it screws onto the tripod and you put the GoPro in there. That thing... that thing's a very useful tool. If you're filming with a DSLR and a GoPro and maybe shooting multiple angles or something like that, that is for sure crucial. Let's see, what else is there? My wetsuit is drying downstairs. My full suit is a it's an Excel TDC X2. It was $350. I'm very happy with it. It keeps you really warm up top. In fact, like a lot of times I get out and like my face is bright red. Right now it's probably red because I just got out and I didn't put suntan lotion on my face. But yeah, sometimes I get out. It keeps the legs with a lot of water flushing. So your legs stay cool. Your top up here like actually kind of heats up. It almost to an uncomfortable point. But in the winter, I'm going to love that. Anyways, let's see here. Is there anything else in my car that I go down with? Well, ultimately, I keep all this stuff in my car all the time. When I go to work at night for my graveyards, that's where I charge all my stuff, and I keep everything in that bag. You might have seen me testing out the eye. They sent me this camera to put together some videos for them, so they had footage. It's a cheap camera. I never used it for photos. Supposedly, that's what it was good for, is the image stabilization. But if you're looking for a cheap camera, I mean, there's other cheap cameras out there. Like I wouldn't suggest this over anything else because I'm not familiar with the market. But this thing, I've gotten some decent shots with this thing, and it has the screen on the back. It's kind of trippy because it's a lot lighter than the GoPro, surprisingly. Yeah, because it feels like, well, it's probably like 3/4 the weight. But when you're dealing with weight that small, I guess it makes a difference. All right, let's see. When it comes to editing, I use Final Cut Pro 7. I edit all my stuff on my laptop here that I got in 2007. That's where I have Twixtor, the add-on. And yeah, this thing I've had for 8 years now. And obviously, I take care of it. I've dropped it a couple times and stuff like that, and I've used it a lot. I've had to replace 2 batteries. That's what happens after 1,000 charges. You just have to repair it. Which was actually easy. But it wasn't easy, but you take off these little screws here, all along here. You need a little mini screw for it. And I looked at a little instructional video, and you just go in there. There's a couple things you just pop off, put in a new one. That's the only thing I've had to do. You obviously, if you're editing, you want an external hard drive to store all your footage. Once it starts getting on your desktop, it's just going to slow your computer down. It's not going to be good for your computer, and you want to store this stuff for the future. So if you're getting an external hard drive, I have a terabyte one and a 500 gigabyte one. A 500 gigabyte is fine to start off with. You can probably get one for $50. The terabytes, last time I checked, were around like $80, $90. If you can get a 2 terabyte on sale, that would be, you wouldn't need another one for like a couple of years. I would think so. Not a couple. Right. If you're filming as much as me, you could use 2 terabytes in probably 8, 9, 10 months. But obviously I film like a whole lot. Anyways, if you have a laptop like that and you decide to edit on it, it's a very, very good idea. My computer used to, if I'm not using this fan, it's a USB, so you plug in the USB right there, it goes into the USB on the laptop, and there's only 2 USBs on the laptop, so I use a USB extender thing, or a multiplier, so it has 1 USB that pops out, and it goes to 4 USBs, so I can plug in up to 5 USBs at once, and then this thing lights up, it's blue, it's pretty cool. A lot of these things, though, some of them have like something that lifts it up. Since my MacBook is really flat, it doesn't give any space for the fan to like push up on it. It just pushes the air out to the side. So I glued these bottle caps here, so it gives a little bit of space, so it at least blows up to the computer, and then it has space to go outside, and that's what works. I did this on this one. I had a different version of one of these fans for the last one. I did it with that one, and it keeps it very cool. There's that. And what I'm recording this on is my desktop computer. I use that just for kind of basic cutting stuff and exporting. It is probably 3 times quicker for exporting stuff. And so I do export stuff on there. I guess if you have any other questions or whatever, just let me know, and I could just throw together another little video like this. Yeah, other than that, I'm stoked that I got this video done this morning. It was probably the funnest session I've had in a very long time. Nobody out. It was like head high, backwash was coming. I took a couple tosses and got some really cool shots. But I have work tonight, so I want to save that footage. I have work tonight. I got to get to a couple other things before I crash out. And so I gotta just put that footage away until then. Yeah, other than that, just let me know if there's anything else you want me to elaborate on or anything, or if there's anything I missed, and I'll get back to you. Just throw something together like this. In the future, I'm going to be putting more of these together like on a professional level, I guess, but that's like in the future when I'm like more full-time or something like that. For now, this is something that's easy to put together. It's more personal, and I want to reward you guys for supporting me. You know, you guys are hooking it up, and I want to hook you guys up. So feel free to ask for anything, all my patrons. Feel free to ask for anything at all. I pop out videos so quickly. It's not a problem. You're not interrupting me at all. All right. Other than that, thank you guys. Thank you, Cyril, and thank you to my patrons. All right. I am going to get to editing more stuff.